Hi and welcome to episode 2 of the eTravel Weekly Show from Virtual Miss Friday. I'm Michelle Dale and this is a show dedicated to digital nomads and online service providers from around the globe. Keep listening for what's new inside Virtual Miss Friday, plus I'll be sharing my best e-travel discoveries, including top tips and bright ideas to help you create an outstanding online business and virtually anywhere lifestyle. This show is completely free and published as a video, audio and newsletter. You can sign up at www.e-travelweekly.com for new episodes and our archives. So let's get started with the show.
Oh, groovy, baby. Yeah.
So this has been our first week back in Crete and it's been pretty eventful. I've been in Egypt for the last 4 months, so I haven't really done anything in terms of my baby. So today I went to the doctors and I'm 31 weeks pregnant and the baby's happy and healthy, and we found out that we're having a little girl. So we'll have more Little Miss Fridays running around the globe, hopefully, as well. I'm leaving me some pictures at the moment of my current children, the ones that are out in the open, and we've been fruit picking this week because there is some really nice fruit called medlar fruit, which is ripe now around this time, May time in Crete. So we have a tree in our garden, which is very nice, along with some other trees, fruit trees. And my kids really love these fruits, so I've just got some pictures of them on there for you. Now, I just want to talk briefly about, location independence and, the kind of lifestyle that we're living. And for anybody thinking about having a baby or starting a family abroad, one thing I just wanted to chat to you about today is how different it is to what you really expect. I've had a baby now, or I've given birth in the UK and in France, and I'm going to be giving birth to this baby in Greece, and the difference between what they find acceptable and what they don't find acceptable are quite drastic. For example, in the UK, when I had my son, I had a home birth, so I didn't go to hospital. I stayed at home. The baby, he was 2 weeks late, and although the midwife was a little bit concerned about that, they let it go and they allowed it to just sort of happen. And it was a really nice birth. I was at home. I didn't feel pressured in any way. I had a really great midwife and everything went smoothly. And he was a 10 3/4 pound baby. So Theo is pretty big. And then my second baby in France, they really hated the idea of having a home birth, but they accepted it. And I managed to find a midwife who was Polish, and she was able to grant me a home birth, but unfortunately the baby was 2 weeks late again. But in France they really frown upon that. They don't like your baby going too far. So basically what happened was I started having contractions on the morning I was supposed to be induced in hospital, but they wouldn't allow me to stay at home to have my baby. And then they wanted to try and keep me in hospital after I had my daughter. And I wasn't having any of that. So I had to sign some legal papers to discharge myself after 5 hours. Usually they like to keep you in for a few days. And I've just found out in Greece that they don't allow you to go more than a week over your due date, which is a little bit of a bummer. And I've also found out that they keep you in the hospital for 5 days, which to me is an absolute nightmare. So I'm going to try and figure out a way around that. And they don't really have home births here at all unless you're in sort of a major city like Athens. So it looks like I'm going to be a little stuck with this one. So we'll see. But anyway, the baby is due at the end of July. And like I say, it's a little girl. So we're all really super excited. So that's my little update on international living. And let's get started with the business side of the show. So I found some really great stuff to share with you this week. First, I'm going to give you a little update on what's happening in Virtual Miss Friday, and then I'm going to move on to my top 3 eTravel Weekly discoveries. The first one is my own blog post this week. I post a blog on my blog every week, and this is how to request a testimonial for your services. If you listened to the show last week, I mentioned that FreshBooks have announced that you can now request feedback from a client after they pay their invoice, which I find really, really great. But what if you don't use FreshBooks, and what if you don't want to use FreshBooks and you would rather get a more comprehensive testimonial from the client? So on the blog this week, I've got a template for you that you can use on how to request feedback from a client, what makes a really good testimonial, and what your other clients are going to be looking for. Because obviously, a lot of people are going to wonder about what it's like to work with you, and the best place to get advice or recommendations is from other clients. So it's really, really important to request testimonials, but certain types of testimonials. So check out the blog post this week because there's a template on there that you can use and send to your own clients and adjust for your own business. In the VA Passport this week is a new PLR pack called Content Curation Solutions. So basically this contains 5 articles. We've got 3 review posts in there for Feedly, BufferApp and Sway. And then there's another article on assigning content creation and social media posting to your virtual assistant, and why content curation systems are the best way to source content for social media. So this is good information if you're a VA and you provide content curation services for your clients, or if you want to post these on your blog to advertise your own services of content creation to your clients, then you're more than welcome to do that. The pack is for sale at £7, or alternatively, it's free inside the vapassport.com. Now, moving on to my top 3 eTravel Weekly Discovery findings. This week I've got some really good ones for you. The first one is a video that I watched from Derek on Social Triggers. I really, really, really like his website. I like his stuff. He goes into the psychology of, what makes people buy, what converts. I mean, he's known as the conversion guy. And on his video, he was talking about before and after pictures and how well they work in things like fitness. If you're a fitness instructor, for example, and you have a before and after picture of somebody that you trained and they looked a little bit miserable and unfit before, and then all of a sudden in the after picture they look fantastic and awesome at the end, that is a really good way to sell your services. But obviously we're not fitness instructors, we're online service providers. So I was thinking to myself about how this could possibly be adapted to an online service provider environment, because basically he used an example of an interior design studio, and that if somebody saw a before and after picture of an interior design makeover of a room, they might think to themselves, well, that's so expensive, I would never be able to afford that makeover. But if somebody had put a price tag on it, like we did this makeover for $3,000 or whatever, then it would make people more inclined to contact the designer and buy. So when I was thinking about how I could possibly apply this as an online service provider, I thought about a really, really good scenario in terms of consulting services. And you can apply this to really any kind of service. It's a really good idea from him. But let's say, for example, I'm just going to give you an actual example of my own business. I recently set up this website called The Good Dining Company for a gentleman called Ibrahim Ahmed, and he lives in Egypt, and he's also lived in England for 10 years. So he speaks great English. He had multiple businesses inside England, and he worked in England as a food and beverage manager, and he needed an idea of what kind of business he could possibly do using his skills. So first of all, we sat together for a consulting session, and we came up with the idea for the Good Dining Company and what he could possibly do as a food and beverage consultant, which is really his area of expertise. We then put together a package, and we got together all that kind of good stuff that he would need in order to be able to start his business. So we had the idea generation stage, going from basically nothing to the idea. And then once we got the consulting package idea coming through, we started to look at ways in which he was able to provide that service abroad, whether in person or online. And we came to the conclusion that he could offer a certain package to cafes, restaurants and hotels. So this took about 2 consulting sessions from me. I also built the website, and we also set him up with an administration area. So a sort of online intranet type space. And we also set him up with all different types of social media, including LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So basically, this guy has gone from not having any business at all, from just having an idea or, you know, a skill set. And we took it from the skill set right through to the actual online business. Okay, so with this, what I can do is I can tot up and say, right, this entire package cost, for example, £2,250. And we basically took this from a skill set that somebody had into a completely fully operational online business, and we did it for 2,250. So whereas there are multiple people out there with all sorts of ideas and skills that they could apply to an online business or to any kind of business, you know, what people don't understand maybe is how much it would cost for them to actually create that online. And that's where you can come in and you can put together, you know, a case study, for example, for each of your clients or for a specific client that you've worked with, and then you can cost that case study, and then you can put it online and use it as a way to sell your services. So rather than set up a package of services, for example, you could set up a consulting package that takes people from the skill to the business. So that was one idea that I had from Derek's very, very awesome video on social triggers, and I'll just click back to it here now. And it's the psychology behind why before and after pictures help increase conversions. And that's just one way that you could use that same scenario, but through your own services. Next, I want to take you over to brainpickings.org. I love this website. It's a little bit, I guess, contemporary or artistic, but this week I found a really fantastic post on it called What It Takes to Design a Good Life. And it's about an interview that somebody saw on the Jonathan Fields website. And if you're not familiar with Jonathan Fields, he has the Good Life Project website. And basically he's written a book called Uncertainty. And he's also done an interview here with somebody who has some great information and advice to offer. And I want to talk to you about the real biggest takeaways that I took away from this post. Go over to the site and read it. The links will be with this video in the members area. It's an interview with Debbie Millman. Now, the first big takeaway, there's 4 in total. And I just want to walk you through them. Now, the first one is expect anything worthwhile to take a long time. And they're talking about, you know, this Twitter culture, right? Where somebody says, you know, somebody starts a business or a blog and then they come and say, well, you know, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not, you know, it's been so many weeks and I've not got anywhere, and I've not got my blog up and running, and there's not enough traffic and there's not enough people visiting. Now, 6 weeks is such a short period of time, and I think we have such high expectations of ourselves. So what I want to say to you is I don't quite agree with expect anything worthwhile to take a long time. I don't think you should expect it to take a long time. I think that you should have the expectation that it might take a long time, not that it will take a long time. So first of all, that's one thing that I would say is probably a matter of wording on this post. But I certainly would say don't beat yourself up. If it's taking you 2, 3, 6 months, up to a year to really get your business off the ground, then don't beat yourself up about it. That's completely normal. The second takeaway I had was that you have to make your own happiness, which is so entirely true. It says basically here that you have to make your own happiness wherever you are. Your job isn't going to make you happy. Your spouse isn't going to make you happy. The weather isn't going to make you happy. You must create your own happiness, and don't rely on other circumstances outside of yourself to create that. And I'm a strong, strong believer that happiness does come from within, and it's all about your perspective and how you perceive the world and how you perceive things. So for example, you can either be disappointed that you only have 2 or 3 clients in your business, or you can be happy and grateful for those 2 or 3 clients with the expectation that more are coming. So how you perceive things and how you think about things can be a dramatic twist on how your own business and your life goes. If you can be happy and grateful for the things that you do have and not be concerned and worried and unhappy with the things that you don't have, then it's going to make for a much better business model for you and a better life. The third one is feel that what I'm doing is coming from the heart and not the head. Loads of people will talk to you about your passion and that you must be doing your passion in order to be able to succeed. And I'm not necessarily saying that you have to really be passionate about what you're doing like it's your ultimate life thing, but what, for example, I'm passionate about is travel, and I'm passionate about spending time with my children and not letting my business rule my life, but letting, you know, my life sort of work around my business. So this really has to come from the heart. What I do comes from the heart. My business model and how I help people and train people and work with people online, it comes from the heart because it comes from a place which allows me to do what I want to do in life. It allows me to live the kind of lifestyle that I want to live. So I didn't choose my business based on me thinking to myself, what's going to help me make money? I built my business on what's going to help me create the kind of life that I'm going to love to live. And I think this, again, is a big takeaway on from this post. So take a look at that. And the final thing is that busy is a decision. Don't find time to do things, make time to do things. And this is a huge takeaway because I work with so many people who will tend to want to go down a certain path because they think that their head is telling them that's the right thing to do, and then they never find time. But the thing is, they never find time because their heart is not really in it. You know, if you're wanting to provide a certain set of services because you think, well, you know, this is what clients want, this is what I should be providing, this is what he provides or she provides, you know, that is a totally wrong way to approach your business. What you want to do is look at the things that you really, really want to offer, and then you won't have to find times to do things. You will have the energy. It's like a gift from the universe. You will have the energy, you will have the time, you will set other things aside, and you will have much more clarity into where your time is going throughout your day, because otherwise we just continue to look for excuses as to why we can't get our nose stuck in and do things. So think of it in terms of this. Busy is your decision. If you keep saying I'm busy all the time, really look at where your time is going. Are you busy doing nothing? Which is a lot of what people kind of do. You know, they spend a lot of their time being busy. For example, you know, clicking around the internet, looking at things, trying to find things. And, you know, before you know it, an hour or 2 hours has gone by, or you've spent that on social media when you could have been doing something a lot more productive. And it's also about, you know, whether you want to find time for things and you just don't have the energy for them. And if you don't have the energy for something, then really you shouldn't be doing it. So my takeaway from this is that if you have to find time to work on your business, then really your heart and your energy and your soul is not in it. If you find yourself willing and able to make time whenever, for example, I get up at 5:30 every morning and I respond to my emails at that time in the morning. Now, most people will say, well, there's no way I'm getting up at 5:30, but I do, because I'm making time to do my things I need to do. A lot of people say to me, how do you have a family and run a business and do all these things and travel? I make time because it's important to me. And if you want to do those things for yourself, you also have to make the time and not find it. And finally, moving on to Unison. Now, Unison is a system that I use. It's an online system, and it's mentioned in the Paperless Entrepreneur magazine, the Spring-Summer 2014 edition. And it allows you to collaborate in sort of a message kind of chat room with your clients. So if you've been in my courses and my programs or read my blog, you'll know that I really, really love this system. Now, they've decided that they're going to be introducing integration with hundreds of popular applications through a service called Zapier. And you may have heard of Zapier. Basically what it does is it integrates with all sorts of things like FreshBooks and various other systems to be allowed to work simultaneously. Now, this is no reflection on Zapier whatsoever, but I wanted to give you my own personal experience of using Zapier. Zapier on the whole is a great idea. It's a really fantastic solution for people who want to integrate different applications with each other and want them to talk to each other. And I consider myself fairly tech savvy, fairly online savvy, not when it comes to hardware like computers. I have a husband who I call tech support, who helps me with those things. But when it comes to anything online like systems and services, I'm fairly au fait now. I've been working purely online for 10 years, so I kind of know what to expect with most interfaces. But Zapier, I found, was a little bit clunky. I think that they've got a long way to go in terms of their service. I've only tried to hook up one thing, and I tried to hook up Dropbox to Google Drive, and when I did it, it looked like it was all working, and it was a little bit sticky because it asks you for file paths and root folders and things like that, and if you're not technically savvy, you wouldn't really understand or know what they were. Even I struggled with it. So what I did is I set up this folder, and then I had a folder inside Dropbox, and it was syncing into my Google Drive, so it was all working and it was all fine. But then I was noticing that it was only linking in folders, and it wasn't actually migrating any of the files that were inside the folders into Google Drive. So I went to Zapier support and I said, this is I think this is set up correctly, but it's only importing folders into my Google Drive. And they said, okay, well, you need to set up another Zap, because it's Zapier, they call them Zaps. You need to set up another Zap for the files inside the folders in Dropbox to transfer across. So I said, okay, let's do this. So I went in, so I had one Zap to transfer my files from my folders, and I set up another one to transfer the files across. And then I noticed that it was only transferring certain individual files. So I went back to Zapier support and I said, I've got my setup for my folders and I've got my setup for my files, but it's only migrating certain individual files, like for example, documents or images. And they said, well, yes, because we don't actually import the folders and the files together. So the problem that I had with this is I had this Dropbox account and I was trying to use Zapier to migrate my folders and files across into Google Drive, but everything had to be done individually, and it was a little bit clunky, and they would only migrate the whole folder if it was zipped. For me, that didn't fly. It didn't work. It was just too tedious. So I hope that they will eventually create Zaps which will allow you to migrate across folders and files together, but that was just my personal experience. So what I ended up with was a folder in my Google Drive which brought across the names of other folders, which you can create in seconds anyway, and it brought across individual files like JPEG images and things like that. But if I had a folder in a folder, it just wasn't going to happen. So I just wanted to share you my experience with that. I think that it's fantastic that Unison have merged in with Zapier, and I think it's fantastic that you can now link Unison up with other things, but that was just my own personal experience of using Zapier. So if you have a better experience with using Zapier or anything like that, please let me know in the comments below on this YouTube, because I would love to learn something redeeming about this. And really, this is the end of the show. So if you enjoyed the show, please leave your comments or questions under the YouTube video, and I'll respond in the next episode of eTravel Weekly. So leave me questions, and if you want me to review anything or look at anything or answer any of your most pressing problems to do with location independence or online business, leave me a comment and I'd be happy to answer. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for listening to this show. For more eTravel Weekly episodes, you can sign up for a free digital backpack at www.e-travelweekly.com, where I post the video, audio, and newsletter, plus all the links featured inside this week's show. You can also subscribe via YouTube at michelleonyoutube.me or via iTunes at michelleonitunes.me.